was time for trip 3, so I messaged another campervan friend who messaged one of his friends, and we set out for Algonquin in the middle of winter. Everything is shut down again because of COVID Wave 2, so there was nothing to do for New Year's, and camping seemed about the only way to get out of the house. We got there a lot later than planned, and the office was closed, so we just picked a spot, hoping no one would show up since it was already evening. Someone did show up, and the site was reserved, but they were super nice and offered to let us keep it after I offered to move.
It's right behind my water jug.
We had New Year's by the fire. It's about -8 outside, so I've got my diesel heater on pretty high. I've got to set up my heat exchanger. This is part of it. So this goes in the window. This is the main heat exchanger here. And I'll explain how this works, but not tonight. Yep, so I'm gonna do that now. Gotta wire all this up. And I've had 3 beers. Fell off this fan. Before I continue, let me go over some of the upgrades I made since the last trip. The heat exchanger is one of the biggest upgrades. The current design is just a temporary prototype. It will eventually be mounted to the ceiling instead of the window, and the next design will also be more compact. A heat exchanger lets you draw in fresh air from the outside, even if it's really cold, and it heats up that air for free with the air leaving the van. Essentially, it's one pipe drawing fresh air inside, while another pipe inside that pipe draws air outside of the van. And in between them, they exchange their heat. The next update was my custom-built air quality monitor. On my previous trip, I used a store-bought one, and it was terrible, with really poor support, so I returned it and built my own. It is far more accurate, with many more readings than the store-bought one, and it gives me all the data straight to my phone or laptop over Wi-Fi from the van. Next, I insulated the inside of the flare with 1.5 inches of foam. I also finally got a nice mattress. It's 2 inches of memory foam and 4 inches of rigid foam. I've been getting really good sleep on it so far. I then put on the bumper guard on the front of the van. I ended up purchasing this used online and refurbishing it. I really like how it looks. I also upgraded my tires to 4 KO2 tires to get some better grip in the snow and off-road. Then I put in 3 panels, 2 covering the rear doors, one of those which I finished with vinyl leather, and I really like how it turned out. And the third is the side door. I noticed I was losing the most heat through the side door since it was the largest exposed metal area. That's about it, and at the end of the video I'll talk about the next planned upgrades for the next trip. This is what sleeping in my van is currently like. I'm gonna get in bed now. It's currently, well, I'd say about 20-21 degrees. Very comfortable. I can feel the fresh air coming in. I have a window here, but I'm keeping it closed. It's 1 a.m. Time to go to bed. So I still don't have a light yet. I'm using this lithium ion puck light over here. Seems to be okay.
Yeah. Cooking. Cook it slow. Take your time. So true, eh?
The same with like frying pans and that. Like anything you put on a grill or anything you cook in general, just let it cook.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, it's gonna burn. And I go, you know, at some point you're probably right. It will burn.
That was it. It was a 2-day trip. The van performed great. I got to see a pine marten finally, and I got pulled up by a tow truck. Good times. Goals for my next trip. I first want to install a winch so that I don't get stuck in deep snow or on ice again and have to wait for a tow truck, or it might be so far that I don't have access to a tow truck. Number 2 is I want to finish the roof rack and install the solar panels I have. I can't finish the ceiling insulation until I mount the roof racks with bolts to the ceiling, since I need the access to the ceiling. Once I have solar, I'll be able to be off-grid. I'm aiming at about 600 watts of solar for now, and eventually I'll upgrade to around 1000 watts. This should be enough to give me plenty of power even in short overcast days. Next, I want to insulate the ceiling. It's currently causing the most heat loss through the exposed metal beams in the roof. Then I'm going to work on the heat exchanger version 2. I'm going to attempt to upgrade my existing design, which is currently about 50% efficient and 8 feet long, to a new design that I've been working on, which I'm aiming for about 80 to 90% efficiency and only about 1 foot long instead. Finally, I want the sensors to control my heat exchanger, so when CO2 gets too high, it'll turn it on to a specific power and ramp up to meet the needs of how many people are in the van. If it detects any toxins in the air, it will turn on my ventilation at full power and turn on my HEPA and True Carbon filter at full power. At this point, I should be able to stay in a remote location for weeks at a time, as long as I have enough diesel for my diesel heater. Let's see how far I can get with my list by the next trip. I'm either thinking of Tobermory or going all out and trying to reach James Bay on Hudson's Bay. Thanks for watching.